Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, July 26th. Over the next few days, we'll have very similar conditions in some areas across the Great Basin, with very hot temperatures continuing to climb through the week across the northern two-thirds of the region, especially as a ridge builds in the west. Also, monsoon moisture is solidly in place over the southern areas of the Great Basin, with wetter thunderstorms continuing for the next few days. We will have a mix of wet and dry storms on the northern and western fringe of this moisture, but for the most part, these thunderstorms will be on the wetter side. We will see winds kick up a little bit on Wednesday over western Nevada, or western Idaho into northern and northwest Nevada into Utah. These wind gusts will generally be in the 20s or right around 30 miles per hour with dry conditions. We do have a weak wave moving through Wednesday, Thursday, so it will kick up some lightning across parts of central and eastern Idaho into Wyoming, especially on Thursday. These thunderstorms could be a mix of wet and dry and certainly increase fire potential. We will see relative humidity increase also for a day with these storms, and we also could see a few isolated strikes up into the Salmon Chalice on Wednesday. Looking at the last 24 hours, again with that monsoon moisture in place over southern areas of the Great Basin, we had some significant precipitation in some areas over southern Nevada into the Arizona Strip and southwest Utah. There are also flash flood watches in place with this moisture. Again, some of the heavier precipitation will be spotty with the thunderstorms, but certainly higher humidity in the air will certainly lower fire potential going forward. Also had a few thunderstorms with some lighter precipitation over parts of central and eastern Nevada. Over the last 24 hours, we had moderate initial attack again across the Great Basin with mostly smaller fires reported and continued growth on our large fires, especially in the north. Over the last 7 to 14 days, again, the precipitation is mainly tied to the monsoon moisture across Utah and into southern and eastern Nevada, with still very dry conditions over western and northwest Nevada up into Idaho. Looking at some of our ERC charts in the far north, where we have some large fire activity in the Salmon Chalice, ERCs are at records for the time of year, so certainly well above normal and above the 97th percentile. Further south, where the monsoon moisture has moved into parts of southern and southeast Nevada, ERCs have certainly decreased significantly and are still maybe near normal for the time of year. 100-hour fuel moisture is certainly critical over the western and northern sides of the Great Basin that have remained on that hotter and drier side, with 100-hour fuel moisture is not quite as critical further south. The satellite loop from this morning shows a strong high-pressure ridge off the west coast that will continue to build in to the west and allow our temperatures to continue to go up, remaining about 5 to 8 degrees above normal, with many valley locations above 100 degrees. Obviously, you can see the moisture in place over the southern half of the Great Basin with the cloud cover and the monsoon moisture, so that will continue to provide moisture for thunderstorm activity and wetting rains. As we move into later today, again, you can see where the moisture is located over the southern half of the Great Basin. We'll likely have some isolated thunderstorms developing over southern areas of the Sierra Front, but it looks like moisture has already moved that far north, so we will at least see some rainfall and slower moving storms with the lightning, but certainly something to keep an eye on in areas that have been very dry. So no high risk are issued for today. The model depiction of where thunderstorms will be located, again, mainly the southern half of Nevada and Utah into the Arizona Strip, with again some cells developing in a more isolated fashion up into the Sierra Front. Wind gusts today will generally be on the lighter side, some breezy winds across parts of Idaho into northern Nevada with most of the gusts in the teens or low 20s. Otherwise, relative humidity remains very low over the northern half of the Great Basin, especially into northern Nevada and southern Idaho, where we have single-digit relative humidity. As we move into Wednesday, very little change in the pattern. We will continue to see that moisture further south, maybe pushed a little bit further east out of western Nevada, but still no high risk with the wetter moisture in place. Otherwise, we may see a few isolated storms up into parts of central Idaho on Wednesday, but most of that will hold off until Thursday. And you can see where the model depicts most of that lightning activity and showers over the southern areas. Winds will pick up just a little bit over western Idaho into northern Nevada on Wednesday with more of a northerly direction, and we will see those gusts in the upper 20s to right around 30 miles per hour. Otherwise, we'll continue to see gusty outflow winds with the thunderstorms. On Wednesday, still low relative humidity in the north with higher conditions down south. Then as we move into Thursday, we do have a weak wave bringing some moisture into parts of central and eastern Idaho and Wyoming. So we do have high risk for that activity. Still looks like there will be some light showers and some higher humidity with these thunderstorms, but with how critical the fuels are, especially in the far north and the mountainous terrain, again, that threat for new ignitions and gusty outflow winds spreading existing fires is certainly high enough for our high risk. Further south, that monsoon moisture will continue to be on the wetter side with thunderstorms. You can see where the models depict thunderstorm activity on Thursday, generally over central and eastern Idaho and Wyoming, and even into northern Utah will be the biggest concern just with how dry things have been. And also, this is certainly not related to the monsoon moisture, so it won't be quite as wet as areas further south. Looking at the relative humidity, again, you can see how that does come up a little bit on Thursday over central and eastern Idaho and western Wyoming with those storms. However, further south and west into Nevada, relative humidity remains low. The heat, again, will continue. Obviously, that has been a concern for the last couple of weeks. We will see temperatures gradually climb through the week and probably a peak later this week into the weekend with, again, highs over 100 in all the valleys over the northern half of the Great Basin. However, temperatures a little bit lower in the far south just with that cloud cover and the moisture. 3-day amounts of precipitation, the heaviest precipitation obviously with the monsoon moisture in far southern Utah, the Arizona Strip, and southern Nevada. And then obviously you can see with that wave moving through on Thursday, those showers and thunderstorms across central and eastern Idaho into Wyoming. So hopefully areas like the Moose Fire and the Wood Tick will get some rainfall, but again, the lightning and the gusty outflow winds are the bigger concern. As we move into Friday, moisture remains to the south, mostly drier conditions in the north with no high risk. As we move into Saturday, still similar conditions, but as we move into Sunday, we may see some moisture move further north along with an area of low pressure that's moving into the Pacific Northwest to generate some lightning over parts of Idaho into northern and western Nevada. So we will be keeping an eye on that, as that would be on the drier side with faster moving storms. So certainly that could be a day for some high risk for lightning. But again, a little bit too far out, we'll continue to watch that. And then going into Monday, we do have this tropical feature off of the Baja coast. We will see some moisture getting pulled up into western Nevada, potentially from that, for a day of potentially wetter thunderstorms. So again, we will be watching any lightning activity or showers and thunderstorms over western and northern areas in the very dry locations. 7-day total precip shows again most of that moisture tied to the monsoon, but you can see a little bit more moisture into the Sierra and western Nevada, especially as we get into early next week. And then the 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from August 2nd through the 8th, shows now a change to near normal or cooler conditions for the western half of the Great Basin, and that moisture with the monsoon really gets pushed north across many areas in the west. So again, we'll continue to watch that moisture as western and northern areas of the basin will remain on the drier sides of that moisture and likely see some thunderstorm activity, but then some drier periods as well. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.